Hey guys, good morning. I'm happy to be in India again because I love India. And I'm happy to be at this conference for the first time because I think this conference is one of the best design conferences I ever been in my life. Yeah? Are you guys ready? Are you woke up? Because I have 200 slides for you. So, small change of plans. I'm going to speak until lunch. Okay, don't worry. I'm going to be very fast. So, I'm going to be talking about some niche design, which is editorial design. How many of you are somehow interested in editorial design, newspapers, magazines? Okay, quite a lot. It's good. I thought it's going to be boring for most of you. Okay, guys. Designing a story. I'm going to show you how we design a story in both print and web. Let's start with print. The big question. Do you think print is dead? How many of you think print is dead? Print is going to die? Oh, very little. I think this is the wrong country to ask this question because in India, print is actually not dying. But if you ask this question in other countries, most of the people think that print is dead. But you know the situation. Google is taking our money. Facebook is taking our audience. And we don't believe in print anymore. That's my feeling when I travel around the world. We don't believe in print anymore, but we should. Because when you look at the recent political situation, the print is so powerful. We can produce such amazing pieces of art that comment the situation, that has opinion on the situation. That Eder Rodriguez became a star thanks to Trump. Actually, Trump is a muse for journalism, for design, for illustration, for magazine design. We should thank him. Amazing covers of the magazines. Yeah, look this one. It was one topic, and the Economist, New Yorker, and Spiegel made this amazing illustration on this team. And look at this one. This is quite recent one from Tim O'Brien, another star of illustration. The triptych of, let's say, Stormy Trump. It's amazing piece of art. Yeah. This, in my opinion, this old-style magazine cover with illustrations of super old-style thing resonates with people much more than any other tool, much more than any video, photo, or whatever you can imagine. So we need print, because if you're going to lose this, we're going to lose a very important tool to comment the situation. So we need print. But what print needs to survive? I think it needs innovation. Yeah? Let me share some ideas with you. One of them, magazine style. I think that's the direction for newspapers. I'm not looking for the inspiration in the newspapers anymore, because print must be more timeless. I'm looking at the inspiration in magazines, mostly American magazines. What can we learn from them? Basically, we can learn about the structure of an article, the depth of a typical traditional article. What we do now is very old style. It's a headline, text, photo, headline, text, photo. We do it everywhere, right? But we don't need, it's a 19th century invention, and basically we don't need a print for that. Yeah, we can read it also on our watch. There are new ways to tell the stories. One of them, listing. If you put numbers to your story, to each chapter, it works magic. People keep on reading, following the text. This is how we do it in the newspaper format. The bite-sized chunks of information. If you divide the article into smaller pieces, it's much easier to digest. So you still have a headline and intro, but then you don't have a text, just a small chunks of information with small headline and an icon. Table-style article. I think this is a super powerful thing. So instead of writing a story, you just make a horizontal, vertical division. Let's say two ladies in a crowdfunding business. What she does, one lady, second lady, what's innovative, this and that. This is a very powerful way to tell the story. And this is one of my favorite examples. Yeah? You still have a headline and intro, but then you look at the logos, changes of the logos. So look at the yellow pages. Yeah? What was the problem? What is the verdict? And then at the end, give the grade, 1-5 stars. So this is a super powerful way to tell the story. You kind of pre-digest the information for the readers. But of course, we don't do it because it's very difficult to do. But do I believe only in short things? No. Bloomberg magazine was experimenting with how to make the long stories more easy to digest for the readers. They make kind of like a web links, references to the story on the margin. You can argue, of course, if it's effective or not, but at least they're trying something. So I believe in contrast. I believe in very short things and very long articles, kind of like a different experience, lean back experience. I don't believe in this kind of like medium-sized, flat rhythm newspapers that we do now. Storytelling. That's the core of what we do. We have to back to the roots, back to our real job, back to our mission, yeah? A service to readers. When you deal with the media design, with the newspaper design, magazine design, you're not artists, yeah? You're giving a service to your reader. You try to present and digest the information for them. Everybody's doing stories now, yeah? Storytelling is like I'm talking about storytelling for years, and now everybody wants to have stories, yeah? Everybody's telling stories. My kids are telling stories. Some serious guys like Gary Vee is telling stories. Everybody's telling stories. But I'm talking about stories, not nice pages, not a good page composition, but story. And I'm talking about information, not decoration, yeah? This is a big trap for designers now. So we need content-driven design. And no matter if you work for media or you work for branding, advertising, making logos, whatever, the content-driven design is the key, guys, because I've seen a lot of over-designed things without thinking why we do it and what for we're doing. So we need this kind of teams, yeah? So at the end of the day, you don't remember who wrote the music, who wrote the lyrics. And this kind of teams is the future. Because we cannot have creative design without creative journalists, guys. If you don't have creative journalism, creative content, you will keep on decorating the boring stuff, the boring text, yeah? That's another trap. So we need multi-layered storytelling. That's our powerful tool. In a shortcut, you just have one story divided in many pieces and the story told with different editorial tools. And this is the very fast way to digest the content, trust me. In web, you have to click many links. On the spread in the newspaper, you just have a look, and after half a minute, you mostly know what it is about. Data visualization. The infographic is coming back. It had a bad period a few years ago, but now it's coming back. We need to change our thinking into more infographic thinking, into data presenting thinking. There are many great ideas from outside newspapers, like this one. I like this one because it's a super simple execution, yeah? The concept and research is more important than drawing. That's the key. I like the things that you don't draw too much. You have just a so brilliant idea that you don't have to draw too much. But also in newspapers, there are guys that are doing great stuff still, like Carlos Monteiro, my friend from newspaper from Portugal. One time around elections, they decided to present a profile of one politician. So this is a spread of the newspaper. They printed his face, but then they added some other parts of his body. So at the end, you end up with several spreads presenting the guy. So we love this kind of creative approach because readers don't forget it. And Francesco Franchi from Milan, now from Rome, he put the infographic thinking to a totally new level. They were making a IL-24 magazine with some team, every week something else, and they made let's say this is about arms and weapons, this is about bees, so they made a huge research first about the topic, and then they tried to present everything about it in several pages of infographics. And trust me, this magazine is not something that people throw away after a week. This is so valuable because you don't get this content anywhere else. They just took, like, let's for instance, this is about bikes. So they took all the information you have available online and offline and put it together in one booklet. So this is timeless content. This is something that has value. That's why I love it, yeah? Because research takes more time than drawing. Another great ideas from Time magazine. Just one-page presentation, big graphics, very little text, selling the content. When China economy will take over US, when Ocean City will be underwater, who has the most cash? And I love this one, the last one, yeah? Because why don't we get heart cancer? And I remember till now why we don't get heart cancer. Anybody knows why we don't get heart cancer? Because the heart cells don't multiply. And I got it after 5 seconds of reading this infographics. So these are the moments that actually I got smarter after reading magazines and newspapers. Another great samples, yeah? 1 page, big graphics, and some numbers. Very simple to execute, very easy to do. How we live, how we shop, how we love. Super simple, just an idea. Cover page. This is something that actually differentiates, distinguishes online and offline. So this is not the cover of the future. The cover of the future will not look like that. We are not going to have 25 pieces, stories on the front page. Because this is like competing with web, and we're not going to compete with web, yeah? Because we're not going to be a horse competing with a car. We want magazine-style covers, at least from time to time. We want intelligent idea with sense of humor. That's every editor dream, and that's every reader dream. Some magazines are great doing it. New Yorker, Times, sometimes Newsweek, Stern, Economist. There are many good magazines doing it. Not many newspapers, just a few. Libération is great. From time to time, they do amazing. Like this one, when France lost the A grade, so they took A from Sarkozy, the president's name, and put it down. Brilliant idea. And when I was art director for a business newspaper many years ago, we were doing this kind of pages on a daily basis. So that's our style, yeah? A lot of white space, simple typography, 1 element, a lot of white around. So the word is falling apart, like a domino, indignation, the hazard. Sometimes, like here, kind of like playful thing that McDonald's is winning in the crisis over the sushi bars. Sometimes you present the cover without the headline when the candidate you didn't like won the election. It's him. Sometimes you present the front page as a calendar, counting days. So we've been doing these pages on a daily basis, 2, 3, 4 hours work. Yeah, it's not a week, month work. 2, 3, 4 hours work. And sometimes it's one-man show. And this is, guys, big lessons for you. This is a story of a guy that was a designer in Lithuania, a country that has like 2.5 million people, very small country, like a small city in India, I guess. And I was working with him, redesigning this newspaper, I think 2 or 3 times. He was a designer working on feature sections, and slowly I've seen his growth, like he's developing. He started to manipulate with Photoshop, learning new skills, and at the end, he ended up with doing this kind of covers himself. It's quite an amazing piece of art. And then we changed the style. I redesigned the magazine, and he came up with a new illustration style for the cover. So this is a weekly cover that he was doing in a newspaper. Another crazy guy, Rodrigo Sanchez from Spain, El Mundo newspaper. They have a magazine, Metropoli, about culture, art, films, theater, this kind of stuff. And this guy's crazy. Look how he treats logo. There's no logo. He doesn't have any respect to branding, because the branding is him. He's a one-man show. He's the brand of this magazine. He uses grains, dust, breadcrumbs, ice cream to play with that. About movies, Los Miserables, Harry Potter. Look at this. This is brilliant, yeah? Metropoli. And some celebrities, Bob Dylan, Pete Brook, Thatcher, Shrek. So every style, every cover is different, you know? They don't have a style. Their style is not to have a style. So they crazy, you know? I'm showing you this, guys, not to just copy and do it, just to tell you that the editorial design is something different than you may think, because you think that editorial design is this. No, now in this time, in 2018, editorial design is like that. You can go crazy. You can do anything you want. Look at this World Trade Center cover. It's unbelievable, yeah? Just an idea. Of course, they have a small studio and they make some photo shoots. Sometimes they spend a little more time, but most of the stuff is just a brilliant idea. And we naturally jump to a weekend newspaper, Sunday newspaper concept. When I was starting as a young guy working for this newspaper, they made a test. First, they start once a week. Then 2 times a week, they say, okay, it's working well. Let's take a risk and make it daily. Now we're going to see the opposite process going on. The publishers will kind of cut the editions on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And at the end of the day, you will see the situation that we have a newspaper, printed newspaper, once a week. That's my prediction. That's what I believe. So print is not going to die. Don't believe this. Not going to die. But your everyday newspaper is going to die for sure. So what's going to be the newspaper of the future? Let me show you some ideas. I was lucky enough to have the biggest award you can get in this editorial industry for design, which is the World Best Design Newspaper Award from S&D, and I was lucky 5 times to get this award. Thank you. So I'll show you some examples from 2 newspapers that were recently awarded. The 2015 De Morgen from Belgium, from Brussels, and 2017 Het Parool from Amsterdam, from Holland. And actually this newspaper was again this year elected as the World Best Design newspaper, so 2 years in a row. So basically you're going to look at the quite fresh World Best Design newspapers nowadays. And this year, the Parool was actually elected with 2 other newspapers. So that's a company, quite a good company, New York Times and Decide. So the future newspaper will be eclectic, as I told you. Yeah? So I believe in kind of merge of old and new, traditional typography versus modern graphics, serif fonts versus modern layout. So I love serif fonts. Yeah? The older I am, the more I love serif fonts. I had an interesting discussion here in India. People were saying, okay, maybe show us something more modern with sans serif fonts. I said, no, it's not more modern. Serif fonts are modern, actually, are coming back. There are many revivals of the old fonts. They're beautiful. So I really believe in the serif fonts. That's why I made this presentation, serif fonts, right? So this is the page with a very traditional serif typography, and also graphics is a kind of traditional feeling. This page has the graphics a bit more modern touch, but typography is very old school still, with the very bold elements. And here you see more crazy stuff, kind of very spontaneous modern graphics versus serif fonts, because it gives credibility to this kind of design. And I love contrast in typography on the page. So you do light elements everywhere, and you contrast it with some, you know, vertical, bold drop cap on the page. Or something like that. Or something like this. And I love surprise element. These are spreads, 2 double pages in the newspaper. So from time to time, just make the reader think for a moment. The contrast between newsy pages and lean back pages. So in Het Parool, half of the newspaper is very newsy, busy, and fast, and the rest of the newspaper is very lean back, feature, lifestyle, culture. With this kind of creative covers, it's about spring, and this is about summer. And people actually are more loyal to this part of newspaper. They kind of identify the brand with this kind of PS supplement. And inside presentation is giving a different feeling, different kind of photography, white space, drop caps, different typography. Artistic touch to the pages. You know, there's a lot about culture, about this kind of content newspapers. This is De Morgen from Brussels. When I started to work for them, they asked me, Jacek, can you design for us 12 pages of culture? I say, okay, once a week? No, every day. They do every day 12 pages about culture. This is shocking, but that's the direction. And people love it, and especially young people love it. They don't want to read the same boring political news in the newspapers that you have online. They want some different quality content there. So we use Jackson Pollock, we use some art exhibitions, use plenty of illustration on the pages. Look at this, like illustrations kind of merge around text, and sometimes even we ask artists to write the headline. We like to challenge people, yeah? So you cover the name, you cover the face of the hero of the article. Challenge with the bold, very heavy typography. No photo, just a black and white typography. Creative when you play with the headline. When you write about storm, you want to put some water on the pages. And this is a very good example. We write about musical festivals in Belgium. So it's for young people, so didn't want to write a story. We decided to make a kind of like a boarding game, that you jump from place to place like playing some boarding game. So that's a creative approach to present the story. We play with the grid a lot, you know. I'm really like a fan of changing grids and playing with grids. In Holland, you know, it makes sense to make this kind of very rigid grid for some stories, like the steel style. Makes sense sometimes, but usually this is a typical page that we do. So we leave some empty spaces, yeah? We play with the drop caps. We don't finish a story here, no, we just leave it empty. Then we use wider columns, narrower columns, and we leave some empty space around, yeah? So everything's kind of like flying around. That's our style. In De Morgen from Brussels, this is a typical page. So as you see, we play with the wider and narrower column, and look for some empty spaces in between. So this grid is a bit complicated. It's a 13-column grid, and try to play around with that. Takes some time to learn it, but after that, the effect is really great. So simplifying it, we use like a main story wider columns and the secondary story narrower columns. Special front pages, yeah? That's what we do when something sad happens. This is like Charlie Hebdo, you know, this terrorist attack, you remember? We made a simple drawing, and someone is dying. We love to make a black and white covers. This is a style for the Het Parool weekend edition. So I made this mock-up thinking about Piet Mondrian, yeah, the painter. I think it makes sense in Amsterdam, when you do the newspaper in Amsterdam. And a few months later, actually they used the painting of Piet Mondrian on this page, the page design. It's really funny. And sometimes we do a very special front pages. Guys, this is a poem. They printed poem on the front page of the newspaper. Can you believe that? I love these guys. And breaking the grid, yeah? So we use the grid and then we break the grid. We like illustrations kind of like interacts with the grid, goes above the headline. So it's the infographic is breaking the story, breaking the text, like this British Prime Minister's story, or Ford history, or the Super Mouse presentation, or Zlatan Ibrahimovic. So, Sunday newspaper. Now we're going to be, as I said, they have this reverse cycle, because we have a newspaper, we're going to have a newspaper once a week, and digital news 24/7. So what about digital news? Let's look at the web. How to tell a story digitally. So let's look at long reads. When the New York Times was starting the redesign, they started not from the front page, they started from the inside page, article page, with the long read without much stuff on the right side. But what is really interesting for us is a digital storytelling, and I would call it a scrollytelling. It's about scrolling. You scroll down, and you see how story develops. So basically, that's an idea. Different concept. Yeah, you either have some text layer on the side, and something is changing in the main page, or you have some text overlaying the illustration. So you scroll down, you see different text, and also the illustration background is changing. So you kind of dive deep into the story this way. How you do it on mobile? There are two ways actually to do it on mobile. One is very traditional one layer. You just scroll down, you keep on reading. Sometimes you see a photo, sometimes you see graphics, sometimes you see text. Another version, more complicated, is multi-layered. Yeah? So basically you have two layers over each other. The background is an illustration, and on the top of this you see a text. It's keep on changing, and the illustrations keep on changing. Like this in the center is Financial Times. They basically divided the screen into two. That's another idea too. Let's look at some ideas how to do it. Scroll with the listings. Some idea from Star Tribune. You just keep on scrolling. You have beautiful cartoons showing some police action with numbers and with cartoon. Follow left navigation. This is one of my favorite examples from New York Times. The travel in Russia. So the first is show you the map from St. Petersburg to Moscow. That's your route. And then you keep on reading about places on the way from St. Petersburg to Luban to Khudovo. And look at the left. You see actually the map where you are, your navigation. This is a very cute idea. On the mobile, we lose this left navigation, unfortunately. So I'm showing you this because you have to know that there are some limitations of this presentation. In FT, similar idea. You keep on scrolling. You read on the right. You see the highlighted text that you should reading, and then the map is changing, showing you where you exactly are, what are you reading about at this moment. Spark style scrolling. Very simple, kind of almost semi-professional scrolling, but I'm showing you this because this is made by Adobe application that you can actually buy for a few dollars a month, and you can do this kind of presentations for yourself. Vertical, horizontal scroll. So you start scrolling vertically, keep on reading, photos are changing, and then at one point it moves you left and right. This is also an interesting way. Screen by screen. So here you don't have this continuous scrolling. You kind of jump from screen to another screen and keep on reading in a more static way. Example from Deutsche Welle in Germany. Hand drawing animation. I love this one. It's got a lot of awards. Example from Australia. So it's a drawing about the boat full of refugees, trying to fight with a storm. You keep on scrolling, and at one point you get the feeling of the boat. So it's shaking and moving. Simple interaction, like here. Politiken, Denmark. Look at the key, yeah? And then you have to click the picture. And then you see the real context. Again, you see the key. Very simple idea, yeah? But works emotionally. Or text only. Sometimes you don't need any fancy stuff because the content is so powerful. 367 people, places, and things Donald Trump has insulted on Twitter. You just keep scrolling A to Z. And by the way, that's how this spread looked like in a printed New York Times edition, 2 pages. Graphics. Of course, we use graphics, a lot of this. Static graphics. Sometimes you don't need the fancy graphics because the data is so powerful. This is Trump America. And this is Clinton's America. Animated 2D graphics. So this is a story about the bands, how there are plenty of musical bands on this planet, but only few of them are really making big gigs, big concerts. So this is you keep on reading, and here you can see the majority of the bands are doing very small audiences, like 50, 100 people. Only some part of these are making slightly bigger gigs, and only just a few % of this are really making real concerts, like just few % of that. And then you can read about these guys. They are big guys. Interactive 2D graphics. This is a beautiful example from Berlin and Morgan Post. Berlin Marathon. Yeah, the infographics showing you actually the route of the marathon and how the people run. Here's the timeline. You can change it. You can see how it developed. You can switch between men and women. So women are a bit behind. Yeah. And the funny thing is that every dot is a real person here. So it's an amazing piece of work, actually. This is funny too. You can check if your job is actually going to be automated. You're going to lose your job in the future. On the left, it's a very small chance to lose the job. On the right, very high chance to lose the job. Let's check the graphic designer. Quite okay, quite safe. Yeah, more or less the same for editors. 3D graphics. The beautiful piece from National Geographic that you basically can see the history of the Earth. You keep on scrolling. 3.8 billion years ago. A very beautiful educational piece of content. And I love this one. This is super simple from Volkskrant, from Holland. It's about North Korea missile that can threaten the world. And trust me, this is a very simple and easy to do piece of graphics that actually taught me a lot. Look, this is the range of the missile. They can actually reach anyone in the world. The whole Europe, the whole Africa, the whole US, only the South America is kind of safe, yeah? So this is the content I love, because after just 30 seconds, I got the information that I didn't know before. Beautiful piece of art. Interactive 3D graphics. So you look at the Jupiter and the moons. So basically you can move around the things and try it on your own. But is this a solution for future storytelling? It is quite expensive, right? It needs some resources, so it's not for everyone. So far, only the big guys are doing this stuff. And a few years ago, I would say this probably is going to be too expensive. But now there are more and more applications and software. Most of them are free that allows you actually to make it on your own. So if you guys are interested, just make a photo of the screen. There's some samples of the applications and the software that allows you to make this kind of storytelling experience for your readers. So we talk about print digital disruption, and we all think that print was disrupted a lot and it's going to be killed by digital, but look at digital presentation. There's a lot of disruption going on too. The death of the homepage. A few years ago, it happened, the New York Times realized that they lost 50% of the users on the homepage in just 2 years. And they went to Facebook. So the article page now is the new homepage. The recommendations on the article page is to be or not to be for the digital publications. We know all this traditional left, right, top, bottom, all this stuff, yeah. Some new solutions that you actually scroll down and see another article below. You don't have to click. So guys are trying to make you not use the homepage again. So everything should be on the article page. That's a design challenge. The very nice idea of in-text recommendation from LA Times, which is, in my opinion, the most effective, because if you have some stuff in the text, you kind of not miss it. The menu also obsolete. Nobody's using menu anymore. If you don't put your content into the Facebook style flow, nobody cares anymore. The banner is dead. The display advertising are dead. So guys, if you work in an advertising industry, you will not be making display advertisement anymore, both for print and web. The native ads, the content marketing is on, and storytelling again, yeah? So we have to learn to tell the stories, because stories is everything. The desktop computers are dying, we all know it, right? People say mobile first. Some people say mobile only, yeah? So when I was younger, we were designing newspaper, website, and then maybe the mobile if you have some time, usually not. And now it's the opposite. We maybe design the newspaper if you have time. But the mobile will die too. Don't be sure about mobile, guys. Some time ago, this guy said, not mobile first, but people first. It means that they're going into the direction of the augmented reality. So we're going to have a different interface that we design now. We're going to have a conversational interface on the Messenger, WhatsApp, audio interface, Alexa and Google, the virtual reality and augmented reality, which in my opinion is the most important thing. And all this will be kind of forced by artificial intelligence. So what you guys are going to see is the death of the graphic user interface. We're not going to be designing like we used to design. And you may think that we already facing the real revolution, but we don't. In my opinion, we're still doing the same stuff. Before we were designing for print, for paper, now we're designing for screen. What's the difference? Very small difference. The real revolution will start when we start designing for, not for any canvas. Like you've seen before some presentation of the digital work that actually doesn't have a canvas. It's somewhere, so you can imagine some AR solution that you see a hologram of your news presentation. You're in the middle of the action. So you can actually see again how it all happened. Maybe you can again make photos and tweet from there. They'll be actually quite funny, like a travel in time. So this is a new future for design of information of media. And at the end, we're going to see the death of design. So design, we all know, will not exist anymore, guys. We're probably living in the few last years of the design, the definition of design that we all know now. And the future is the big, beautiful, exciting question marks. Nobody really knows which direction it's going. And you have to be ready for that. We have exponential growth in everything. You are here, and everything is running at such a pace that it's mind-blowing. Change has never happened this fast before, and it will never be this slow again. So guys, get ready for a big change in your professions, because in a few years, you may have to be doing something completely different. Thank you very much.